We're going to play a game of what if right now. We're going to play a game of what if Ricochet is actually leaving the WWE. He is not renewing his contract, and this was a send-off that happened this past Monday on WWE RAW, and he's saying goodbye, and he is going to show up in All Elite Wrestling. If he is scheduled to show up in AEW, just how is he going to debut? And we're going to play a little fantasy booking with that. But before I get into that, if his contract is null and void, if he is not renewing his contract, then we will theorize here that let's say his contract is up next week. We don't know when his contract's up. So let's say his contract is up next week and he can show up on AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. No 90-day no compete clause. He's just going to walk right into the AEW building and say, I'm ready for television. Put me in the ring. Let's say we're going to say who his first opponent should be, right? Let's say it's Will Ospreay, right? Because he's the bee's knees. Everybody wants a shot at Will Ospreay. Everybody wants to, make me famous, right? They all are looking to get into the ring with Will Ospreay. You got Daniel Garcia. A host of people that are out there that are lining up to wrestle Ospreay. And Ospreay himself, as the international champion, is also challenging for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against Swerve Strickland coming up at Forbidden Door. So there's a long line. Ricochet could come in and immediately cut to the front of the line just based on the popularity of their first encounter in, I believe it was 2016. Very, very popular match. A lot of people talk about it, and I was seeing it on Twitter feeds as early as like 2 or 3 months ago before they even knew Ricochet's contract was expiring. So there is a lot of interest in those two in the same ring at the same time. So how do we get there? Let's talk about how we get there. There's a 6-man tag team match coming up this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. It is Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, and Roderick Strong. They're going to meet Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Mark Briscoe. Very random. But something there that could be a jumping point to the debut of Ricochet, and we're going to get to that. So in this match, you don't have Will Ospreay. So you basically have the Don Callis family doing a deal with the United Kingdom to... Is it the United Kingdom? No, it's the Undisputed Kingdom. I'm just... Because Kyle Fletcher was in, the United Empire in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Roderick Strong is in Undisputed Kingdom, and the Don Callis family. You understand where I'm going with this. I'm trying to tie it all together off the top of my head here. So you've got Roderick Strong, Kyle Fletcher, and Konosuke Takeshita. Where does Will Ospreay fit into this? And what you can do is the Orange Cassidy's team could win, and then they follow up with that next week where Don Callis is asking Will Ospreay, where were you? Where were you? You were supposed to be out here. You were actually supposed to be in the match. And there is no one guy that is bigger than the Don Callis family. So I'm going to give you until tonight to stand by your crew, to stand by your Don Callis family, and be the leader that we need you to be. And there can, they could also tease the idea that Will Ospreay is no longer listening to Don Callis, right? Because he's not doing the Tiger Driver 91. So then there's some buildup for Don Callis just having enough. And also his team has not been doing good. They're batting under 500. There's not a whole lot of momentum for the team as a whole, aside from Will Ospreay. So you have a frustrated Don Callis to roll off of with this. Cut to the end of the show, and you've got Will Ospreay in the ring. He refuses to help Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, or whatever. There's a brawl going on in the back. Will Ospreay's out. He's talking about the title match. Don Callis comes out with his crew later at the end of the night and admonishes Will Ospreay, just obliterates him just tells him that he's nothing, he's no good. You forget where your family are. You're losing sight of who your real family are. Not that stepkid you got at home. All that stuff to get a ooh from the crowd, right? Will Ospreay's getting pissed now. And Don Callis is telling him, you're forgetting that I've got these guys behind me, and they would love to get a piece of you because you've been stealing the spotlight from them for a very long time, right? And they're going back and forth. Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, they start to circle the ring a little bit. And from the crowd, in a hoodie, Ricochet. He flies in, gets into the ring. Crowd goes crazy when he takes the hood off and you realize it's Ricochet in the ring. Crowd is going bananas right now. Feed that moment. No other thing. Will Ospreay's looking shocked. Don Callis is holding his guys back saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Crowd is cheering. The crowd's going crazy. Let the moment set, right? Let that moment set in. Let the crowd feel that electrifying moment that they're seeing right there. It's a big moment. Let them feel that. Sit with that for a moment, and then Ricochet, after he's looking intensely at Don Callis' family, Takeshita and Fletcher, slowly turns to Will Ospreay. The two go face to face. Now everybody's really going crazy because they're like, we're going to see this now. We haven't seen this in a while. We're actually going to get an opportunity to see this. The crowd's going crazy. They're looking face to face. They're talking mess, back and forth. Don Callis' family, they feel the need to run in now because there's some distraction. They run into the ring. Will Ospreay and Ricochet handle those guys, and then there's some celebration on opposite sides of the ring between Ricochet and Ospreay after they fend off, the Don Callis family, and then they meet in the center of the ring again. And there's a little bit of back and forth, and then Ricochet leaves, heads up the ramp, and Will Ospreay's left in the ring to get a reaction from the crowd, get them going as we end the show. Now, I grew up programmed by the WWF and WWE and, later WCW and even ECW to have moments like that. And I believe that is something that could leave an impression on the crowd, leave an impression on the viewer, and leave an impression on the wrestling fan. I mean, that would be a really good moment to go viral. Face-to-face Ricochet and Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay finally leaving the Don Callis family, getting them untied, letting them go on their separate ways, and then now you have a program. You have Takeshita, you have Fletcher, you have Powerhouse Hobbs when he comes back, and then you've got Will Ospreay and Ricochet, and who else you have, So I think that's something to start off with. I wouldn't bring him in and put him in a program with Dante Martin or something like that, right? You want him to be a big deal. You want him to have that big moment, and he can go to Forbidden Door and wrestle Konosuke Takeshita, or he could wrestle somebody that Don Callis deems an assassin or a hitman. So there's something you can do. That's just something I decided to share with you all off the top of my head, something that I thought would be exciting, and that is only on the premise that you will see Ricochet in AEW, because this very well may have been, a bait and switch from the WWE, and you may see Ricochet return at some point to save his fiance from the cyborg Braun Breaker, who just please turn him back to Rex Steiner. I mean, he did the Steiner line. Michael Cole called it the Steiner line. But anyways, that's for another video. So what do you think? Is that a good way to debut Ricochet, or do you think that he should have another program? I just don't picture somebody like Ricochet as somebody that would come out in a limo or just like show up backstage or with the lights off or something like that. So I thought of something like that coming from the crowd with the hoodie, taking the hoodie off slowly. Everybody sees that it's him. And then eventually his face-to-face with Will Ospreay. It would get the crowd going crazy. And hopefully there's enough people in the arena that it would make that moment huge. But I think even if you have 3,000 people in the arena, you have a situation like that, the roof would come unglued either way. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit a thumbs up on the way out. And as always, you guys stay tuned for more.